What's going on, y'all? This is Just for Stocks and Giggles, a show where we talk about stocks and have some fun doing it. I'm Bull.
And I'm Bear. We have a great episode for you all today. Today is our market update episode, our stock market update for the month of March. So I'm going to jump right into it. Let's talk about our portfolio and how it is doing. So, right now, currently in our portfolio, we have $1,734. Our portfolio is down about 44.99% since we started. As far as dollar amount, that's $1,416. And we started around August of 2025. So around August of 2025 is when we actually started investing money. So was that about six or
Yeah.
7 months? Yeah, but Bull, how do you feel about that? And I know you got some more stats real quick you can jump into about how our portfolio is going.
Yes, for sure. So, like Bear said, we started this portfolio a few months ago. We're down quite a good amount. It's interesting. We were up roughly that same amount when right after we started, but that's kind of the nature of this, what we're doing. And, there's a lot of volatility in the stocks we're invested in. So, really quickly, we're not going to go through all of the stocks, but we're just going to talk about our biggest gainers, which to date has been Comfort Systems, which they make HVAC systems for data centers. And this kind of makes sense that over, the past few months, there's been a lot of, talk about AI data centers and whatnot. So they're up 98% over the past 6 months. Our biggest loser is another stock associated with data centers, and that's New Scale Power. Their ticker symbol is SMR. And what that stands for is small modular reactor, which is they're pretty much making mini nuclear reactors at these AI data centers. The thing is that this is a long-term play. And so the volatility is quite real with this one. And they are down 69 or 70% in the past 6 months. So those are our two best performing stocks, but you'll notice there's a common trend. We're heavily invested in data centers and AI and all that stuff.
Yep. And yeah, we want to be transparent where we talk about the good and the bad. Right now is as far as, daily and short-term movement, it's in the we're part of the bad now, but we're confident this will continue to go up.
And this bad is opportunity, really.
Yeah, exactly. We look at this as opportunity where we can buy more because on the long term, you'll see when we talked about sectors, technology is one of the country makes up one of the bigger sectors in the country, and we believe that there's a lot of long-term growth. But let's keep the show going because our main focus is on what's going on in the overall stock market. But we want to give you guys a quick glance at our portfolio and how that's affecting us. So let's talk about one of the biggest stories going on right now, which is the wars that's going on right now, or I don't know if it's officially a war yet, but some of the different attacks and strikes that's going on with between Iran, Israel, and the United States.
What do you want to talk about?
Yeah, it's a lot. No, I mean, so basically, I want to talk about how some of the global markets they're reacting to the tensions that's happening in the Middle East right now, and so oil prices have risen as of recently. It's also caused some markets to go down within the stock markets, but energy stocks are actually seeing gains. So
Right.
just kind of, how do you think all of this stuff going on with the wars and the strikes, how is all of that going to affect the stock market, and what's your feelings on it?
This is going to sound cold, but it's not going to affect the stock market. Like, yeah, it might affect energy, but we see oil prices going up. Like, these energy companies actually benefit from that. But like, if we want to talk about, the Afghan war, the Iraq war, or any war like that, where, yeah, it might affect the US, society or whatever, but it didn't affect, the Afghan war didn't affect how much money Microsoft made or how much money Apple made or Google or whatever. And these are the companies that are like driving the economy right now or driving the stock market. So we might see volatility, if there's a strike on this base or whatever and the stock market freaks out. But over the long term, this is less than a blip on the map. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I agree overall as far as this is a short term. I do think that there could be other effects outside of the stock market that's not
Of
really in our
course.
lane. We definitely want to stay in tune on that. But as far as strictly with the stock market, I definitely think we will overall the stock market will bounce back. Some people are panicking. Some people trade based on news like this, and that's why we focus on the long term. But yeah, I think we'll be fine. And if you already had energy stocks, you saw some gains this week. Can you talk about energy stocks for a second, boy? Do you think that will continue to trend up?
I mean, like for the past however long, 50 years, energy stocks have been quote unquote trending up. ExxonMobil is, I don't like them as a company, but like they're still making a lot of money and they're probably going to make even more money now. So like, is it a good sector to invest in? Like personally, I prefer technology and I think it's technology is better for the world than, burning oil. But ExxonMobil is going to make more money next year than it made this year, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And just for reference, and I'll share my screen real quick just because I have the sectors up, and so some of you guys can see this. But the energy sector right now, it may take a second to come on the screen, but the monthly change right now in the energy sector is it's up 12.74%. It is down as far as the 1 day change 0.75%. The 1 year
Yeah.
change on energy sector is 33.24%, but the bulls point on over 5 years, it's up 153% as a sector.
Well, let's sort the 5 year column. And I know what the answer is going to be, but can you sort the 5 year column from smallest, I mean, largest to
Yeah.
smallest? Sort of on time. Yeah, of course. Technology is up 350%. And it's double the next closest one. So like that's what we're invested in. That's what we're worried about for the long term. In, over a month or whatever, energy might outperform, but over the long term, we're pretty sure technology is going to be what's. It looks like over the past year though, materials is killing it, up 100%.
Yeah. Yeah, 100 over
I
5
wonder
years,
what's
139,
driving that.
1 month, 11.39. And it looks like the biggest, let me go to the one that's lagging behind the most is real
Real
estate,
estate, of
which
course.
is ironic because most people consider real estate the safest
It is,
sector.
but because it's the safest, that's why it's lagging. Because there's no risk involved, you're not going to get any reward. Versus technology,
True.
there's a lot of risk involved, but look at the reward.
Yeah, no, exactly, exactly. And as we keep moving forward, we do want to go into some of the individual stocks too, as far as the biggest monthly gainers and weekly gainers, or monthly gainers and yearly gainers. So, Bull, if you could pull that up, and while you're doing that, I'll keep this up, and I'll kind of talk about the sectors until you have it pulled up. But there's 11 sectors total as far as what makes up the market. And this is just the main sectors. There's some minor ones too. But like we said, technology, we touched on this. That's why we're not worried about our portfolio because we see technology has already proven growth with 346% growth over 5 years. And so that's why when we see dips, even with our portfolio right now, we're comfortable with keeping our money in there and just continuing to buy. But I see Bull has the some of the stocks pulled up, so we do want to talk about some of the monthly gainers and some of the yearly gainers. So I will let me stop sharing for a second. And
So in order to, have this conversation make sense, we're going to look at gainers over a certain market cap because there's tons of no-name companies that no one's ever heard of, like Tech Create Group, which is up 3,000% in the last month. But these aren't really companies we or anyone is following. And that's the reason that they've been able to move so much. So we're going to add a filter for a market cap over 10 billion. And those will generally be companies that, well, I actually still don't know a lot of these companies, but the first one I know here is Corning, which is up 35% in the past month. And you have about 15 or 20 other companies that are up more than that. Do you know any of these companies, Bear? Equinox.
a few, let me pull this up so I can see it a little better.
And that's, I see Equinox at the end there. That's Equinox Gold. It's not Equinox, the gym company.
So I heard of Lumenton Holdings. Lumenton,
Hmm.
hopefully I'm saying that right, but I see they're up 64.27% of the highest. And I know most people wouldn't know about that, but I've heard of that. But
Hmm.
are you able to just does it let you click on that to
Hold on, let
see
me,
some info about that one? And then of course I
yeah.
see Coca-Cola on here too.
So I was going to bring that up. That's not actually Coca-Cola. That's a bottling company. That's what the biggest bottling company. I just looked that up. Check this out, bro. Lumentum. NVIDIA announced a strategic partnership with Lumentum to develop state-of-the-art, whatever it is. But I guarantee you, this is the reason that they're up 66% in the past month, to develop state-of-the-art optics technology because
All
they're
roads
doing
lead
some,
back to NVIDIA.
I'm telling you, dude. But I'm sure we could Google a lot of these companies and they lead back to NVIDIA. But so, anyways, these are the largest gainers for the past month. Any major things you want to talk about here? Like I said, Lumentum just signed a deal with NVIDIA. We can look at the biggest losers over the past month as well, if you want.
Can you go to the next page real quick? I just want to
Oh, sure.
see if on page 2, like a
Here, let me show more
big
rows.
one pops up.
Vertiv, I've heard of.
PG. Oh, there's Dell right there. Dell's up
Yep,
23.80. Was that 83%?
24% roughly.
Yeah,
Um,
24% for the month. Exxon is on there. They're up
and
20.
then the last one here, the 50th one is Hershey's. It's up 20%.
Hershey. Hershey,
Um,
but Hershey, I always think of Hershey as chocolate, but I feel like they're into some other stuff too.
I don't know. But what I also want to look at is over the past year. So let's do the same thing, um, over the past year and see, because what happens over a month isn't that important, but over the past
Yeah.
year, let's do the same thing where we sort by market cap or we take out. So the biggest gainer, wow, up 21,000% is this Region Cell Bioscience Holdings, which you and I actually have talked about before. They make things to treat neurocognitive disorders like ADHD and autism spectrum, which very interesting, especially since so many kids are being diagnosed with ADHD today, but they
I
don't
can't
have any
believe
revenue or anything.
I can't believe they're up that much with a market cap over 12 billion. That's
Check out who we still have here, Lumentum, up almost or over 900% over the past year. So this Lumentum definitely something we should look into.
yeah. Yeah, we
Um,
should look into that. And comfort
Micron,
systems, that's one in our portfolio right now.
yeah, yeah. Micron is a semiconductor company. We talked about Comfort Systems, how they're the biggest gainer on a portfolio. Oh, Rocket Lab is one I've heard a lot about. I don't know if you've heard about
Yeah, I
them.
keep hearing about that too, and we might need to have an episode on that at some point because that has some hype around it.
Yeah, and that's definitely up our alley of science and technology. But
Yeah.
for people listening, they're like a space rocket launch company. But yeah, any other stocks
Uh,
you see here that stick out to you?
no, but
Lam
I do
Research
think.
Corporation, that's a semiconductor equipment company we've talked about.
Oh yeah, and they're up 100 and basically 186%. Nebius, I heard of them too.
We own
They're
it,
up
that I'm
almost
pretty sure in our
107%.
portfolio.
Yeah, I think we do have them. So yeah, let's talk about some of the losers too. Maybe we can start with
For
one
sure.
month if you can go there. And while you're talking about that, while you're pulling that up, I found something on Hershey because before you went to that screen, we
Yeah.
saw that Hershey was one of the biggest gainers, and I was like, man, they're making. In my mind, I'm thinking, how are they making all that money from chocolate? But this random fact, like Hershey owns over 90 brands,
Yeah.
and most of it is like they have obviously candy, sweets and refreshments, snacks, but then they also make money off. They have entertainment and resorts, entertainment
Hmm.
lines. Like
There's like
for
a
example,
Hershey's World, isn't there?
yeah, there's Hershey Park, and then they have something called Zoo America, the Hershey Country Club, Hotel
Yeah.
Hershey, and they also have an international presence where they have a big international presence as well. So a
Interesting.
lot of these companies have more that meets the eye. That was my whole point, and
Yeah.
we'll probably have a episode just on that about a lot of these companies own a lot of stuff you might not even know about.
Right. Like conglomerates. Like apparently Hershey's owns that, that skinny popcorn.
Yeah,
Irish
yeah.
food. Yeah. They own, well, they own a lot of stuff. Anyways, here's your biggest losers. over 10 billion market cap for the past month. Two very interesting
Okay.
ones at the top. I don't,
MongoDB, that one's another hot
MongoDB.
one. Man, that one's down, huh? 34,
Yeah.
30, is that 36%?
I mean, they just beat earnings and they're down like 25% today alone. But like, I don't think they should be down. I think that's an opportunity right there. But
Oh, CoStar is down. That's a real estate technology company.
mhm. But Novo Nordisk is the company that made the the is that the vaccine or is that Ozempic? Yeah, no, Ozempic. They make
Is
Ozempic. Sorry.
Ozempic? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I mean, for whatever reason, we could maybe look into that. But
Man, it's a lot
they're
of
down.
big brands on this list that are down.
Yeah.
Like, look at Blackstone's on here. That's one of the big giants. They're down
Yeah.
over
Zillow,
25%. Yeah,
Expedia.
Zillow.
I mean, like, yeah, I know like half of these companies on here, AMD, Mercado Libre, but like all this is screaming is opportunity to me. Like I'd want to buy half of these companies. Reddit, the trade desk is a big one for me. Yeah, tons of companies on here. Any specific ones you want to talk about?
I would like to talk about Blackstone for a
Yeah.
second. I don't know if they have anything on why they're down. That's definitely, I mean, our listeners will find out at some point that I'm not a fan of private equity, and they're like the king of private equity. So I'm a little happy they're down right now. I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah, so they're down specifically 9% today alone. I'm not seeing any specific news, but interesting. Yeah, I can't find you anything specific on why they're down so much, but maybe it's just because people hate private equity so much. And it's funny because it's not even private equity at this point because this is a public company. So
You know what? I'm gonna ask AI real quick why they're down
yeah,
so
go
much.
go for
See if
that.
they
While you
can.
do that, I'm gonna pull up the biggest losers over the past year.
Okay.
And again, we're filtering out companies under $10 billion market cap. Interesting. Wow. Wow. We had some companies down 60, 70%. And like, I know these companies.
Okay, so all right, I found it. So
Yeah.
basically, they're saying that it says Blackstone is down sharply this month, mainly because of private credit fears, analyst downgrades, and macro interest rate pressure. So it's not that they're unprofitable or I didn't think that, but the main catalyst this week is stress in their flagship private credit fund. So
Yeah.
investors are requesting very high withdrawals, which is
Mm,
in turn affecting their stock price.
yeah. I mean, and like, I feel like that's a company, unlike Microsoft or Google or whatever, that's actually way more tied to, the ups and downs of the economy. And, I'm sure this conflict in Iran might affect it and all that stuff. But anyways, here we go with the top losers for the past year.
Oh, Gardner. Okay. They're like
Uh,
consulting and research. They're down
yeah,
68%.
Novo Nordisk again here.
GoDaddy is down.
Lululemon's not doing too hot. MicroStrategy is the company that owns, they're pretty much a Bitcoin company. Their plan, and it's really interesting. I don't know how much you know about it, but they issue shares of stock. So they issue 100 million shares of stock to get $100 million, and then they use that to buy Bitcoin.
Yeah.
But like their idea is that like they can sell the stock for slightly more, like at a premium to the Bitcoin or something. And like clearly it's not working because Bitcoin is down big, but when Bitcoin's up big, this company does well. DraftKings, we have an episode on them, don't we?
Yeah, we have one coming up on DraftKings. But
Mm-hmm.
man, so how much are they down right now?
Ooh, DraftKings 45%
45% for them. I wonder
for
why
the
that is.
year.
I'm gonna look
This is
that
for the
up.
year.
Oh, that's for the year. Okay.
Yeah.
Why is DraftKings?
But yeah, any other, I mean, like there's a lot of big names on this that are down 30, 40%.
Yeah, it is. What about I need to look up PayPal too. I know they're not
Mm-hmm.
on this list, but I keep hearing about PayPal and I know they're down overall. And I keep hearing, have
They,
you heard that they may get bought out? It's been rumors around that too.
they are on this list. If that's they're
Oh,
down
they are on the list. Oh,
30%.
I
Yeah.
see them. They're down 36.43%.
Yeah, like both PayPal and Square haven't been doing super hot. Like PayPal's growing really slowly. They're only growing at 4% per year, which is really bad for a software company. Hopefully they can turn things around. It sounds like they have a plan to turn things around, but I mean, it sounds like they've had this plan for a while. So we'll see if that actually happens.
Yeah. Do you think that with PayPal, do you think it's an opportunity right now, or do
No,
you think no?
sorry. Sorry. I know there's more to that question, but
No, yeah, that's fair. That's fair
but there
enough.
definitely are opportunities on this list for sure. Like, we passed a few, like this company at the top, Atlassian, is they're like what type of software? They help like software developers and managers like make products and whatever. They're down 75%, but they're growing their revenue at 25% year over year. I mean, like they're not a failing company, but for whatever reason, they're down 75%. What other companies on
Mm.
here opportunities? Any
Pinterest is
interesting ones?
down a lot.
Which one? Pinterest?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably more popular with the female audience. They're growing 15%. I don't know if they deserve to be down this much. It seems like there's some scares around AI for their business, but it also looks like AI might help their business, which is always funny to me when people freak out about AI, but then also say that it could be beneficial for the business. So what else?
Hmm. You know what I found?
Oh,
I know
United.
you mentioned DraftKings, so I saw a little insight on them.
Yeah.
So basically, with DraftKings, it looks like they just haven't hit their revenue forecast targets for 2026, and just their investors were just expecting higher expectations. Not that they're doing bad or anything; they just expected growth to be faster.
That's always the case, is like growth is never good enough for your Wall Street, even if it's really good.
Yeah.
Um, but you see United Health on this group, they haven't been doing well since their CEO was assassinated, which kind of makes sense. I wouldn't expect them to be taking off right now. They do have a plan to turn things around, but I think the biggest reason they're down is there was a change to Medicare Advantage and all that type of plan that kind of pretty much means United Health Group is going to make less money from Medicare. One more I wanted to talk about was we
Maybe
also
this will be the last one too. I know we got
yeah,
a
of course.
few minutes.
Chipotle was their CEO. Is now he left Chipotle and became the CEO of
Oh,
Starbucks. Brian
I
Nichols.
think that's an opportunity because Chipotle, if you look at them over the long term, they've been
Mhm.
consistently doing well. They're kind of like AutoZone, where like they just you wouldn't really expect it, I guess, but they over the long term they consistently grow.
But things are changing because there's a lot more competition in that fast casual space.
Oh,
We
with like
have
Canva and stuff like
yeah,
that.
exactly. So it's a lot harder for them to grow now. But yeah, and the last one here is ADP, which I think a lot of people know about. They probably get their paychecks through them. They're down 30% for some reason. But yeah, that's the
Mm,
biggest changes over the past year. So I think I don't
nice.
know if it makes sense, but that's what it
Yeah,
is.
no, I think that was a great recap, and we can continue to we'll continue to have episodes like these once a month where we are just going through how the market is doing, and of course give you updates on our portfolio and some of the stocks we're seeing and how they're moving. So, any final thoughts, Bull, before we close out for our March market update?
Yeah, I think, over the next few months, kind of like we've seen for the past few months, there's probably going to be volatility and stuff, especially because people aren't sure of what the future holds, whether that's with the war or with politics or whatever the case is. But like always, if you're focused on the long term, none of that stuff really matters, right? And it's really, if you own solid companies over the long term, that's what matters.
Yep. Ditto to that. Basically, same thing as far as final thoughts. Don't get too worried about this war as far as a stock market standpoint. If you have companies that you've done your research on and you believe in and they're down, this is a buying opportunity. Take advantage of it and you'll see those gains in the long term. So with that, boy, do you want to close us out?
Yes, sir. That's all we have for you today. And remember,
This is all just for stocks and giggles.